Hey guys, welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you've seen this face before. Happy 2026. I feel like 2025 went by just like that, and I feel like so is January already. I meant to film more during this break, but a lot's been going on in my life, so I really haven't been able to film. But because of that, today I'm here with a long one, and this video is going to be about different paranormal experiences. You're going to see things caught on camera. You're going to hear the craziest story times. Spooky. Maybe don't watch this at night if you get scared easily. But yeah, if this video topic interests you, then just keep watching. So I'm actually going to start with this video because it's such a creepy and like amazing thing to witness. Well, she witnessed after she watched the video back, but still, it's such a crazy thing to capture. And if this is real, this is like... But so basically, these two cleaning ladies are in an old mental hospital that's been turned into something else. And these cleaning ladies are going through it. One of them is recording, and she captures some interesting things.
Present.
Right, so I'm just going to get the car.
Yeah.
They weren't hearing anything. The place was quiet to them. And like I said, if this is real, this is so like creepy. Like, I would be spooked for sure. It sounded so full, and like there was a lot of spirits left or something, because like you could hear men, women, children, like all kinds of voices, and oof, creepy.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I had to get an exorcism performed on the house that I lived in. So I am past the point in caring if people believe me or not. I'm just going to tell you what happened to me. So my entire account, over 5 million followers, originally started following me because of one video that started all of the makeup story times. That was the video that went with this makeup look right here. I had no idea how many people this place actually impacted until this week. So back in 2019, I probably went through one of the roughest breakups of my entire life. I was literally living with him, and I left, we broke up, I moved out. And my best friend ended up getting her first place around this time. It was kind of an emergency situation for me. I needed somewhere to go, and she was needing a roommate. So boom, perfect, it worked out. She did not know the history of the house whenever she got it. Why would you in most circumstances? I moved in, obviously just prefacing, this was not the best time in my life. I was heartbroken, going through a lot of emotions, and her and I were like going out all the time. During all the other days of the week that we couldn't go out, she did night shift and I worked during the day. One particular night that she came home, I will never forget this. She came in at probably 5, 6 a.m. I was sound asleep, and I just woke up to a scream. Like blood curdling, who was in the house scream. I immediately wake up, rush out to see what's wrong, and she's like, I don't know, but I thought that I saw a man at the end of the hallway. I'm like, okay, that's terrifying, but obviously we're like, she's probably just tired. She just got back from night shift. Well, this is not the last time that she ends up seeing something. She wakes up in the middle of the night on another night, and she sees something wrapped around her door frame. Another day, she sees the same figure standing behind her in the mirror. There's a few other things that she sees this figure doing that's kind of dark that I'm not gonna say on here, but basically to say this figure comes up multiple times. And again, we kind of chalk it up to she's just really tired and under a lot of stress. Which seems absolutely silly looking back on it, but again, we were partying a lot, we were drinking, maybe it was the alcohol, I don't really know. That was all until I came home one day. I walk into the house and go directly to the kitchen and start unloading my stuff in there. From the very back room, I heard a very clear and distinct, like, male, masculine voice say, "Hey, baby." Her dad would come over frequently and help fix things, so I immediately assumed that this was her dad, and so I just called back to him and was like, "Hey, you know, she's somewhere else right now. It's me. Let me know if you need anything." Whatever. I just called back to the voice. After about like 5 or 10 minutes of like fumbling around and setting up to do homework in the kitchen, I realized that I do not hear sounds of tools coming from the back bedroom. I walk back there. There is nobody there. My mind does not immediately jump to anything paranormal. I'm like, oh my gosh, there was someone in the backyard or someone broke into the house. Call my friend, I tell her what happened, and she's like, okay, I'm coming home. Get home, there's no one in the house, no signs of entry. I'm like, obviously somebody was just walking around the backyard being creepy. About another week or two passes, I end up going out on a date. This individual does not believe in the paranormal whatsoever. But after the date, I invite him inside and we're standing at the kitchen again. Immediately heard a distinct voice from the exact same place in the back bedroom, "Hey, are there any people here?" And both his and my eyes like immediately locked, so I know that he heard it too. So he's like, there's gotta be someone here. He walks around, checks for any types of forced entry, no signs. Also, there was no signs of anyone being in the house too, because I was also worried about a Frogger. But I asked him, what did you hear? And he was like, I heard a man's voice say, "Hey, are there any people here?" I'm like, no. It was definitely a woman's voice that said, "Hey, are there any people here?" We're both in a disagreement over whether that voice was masculine or feminine. What I didn't know at the time is that sometimes whenever a place has a haunting or poltergeist activity, two people can hear the same voice as totally different things, depending on what is more alluring to them or however it wishes to present to them. I will say that the only thing that was obviously creepy about this house was that there was a shed in the backyard. It was very creepy on the inside. I don't really have like a solid photo of it now because I never dreamed that I was going to be telling this story online for a bunch of people. This is a screenshot from an old Snapchat video. I know you can't really see like what is on the wall there, but it's all like religious symbols. The only thing that was there frequently was like the hand with the eye in the middle. Not long after this, I got my first episode of sleep paralysis, and it was the scariest moment of my life, and I had no idea how bad this haunting was about to get. My first experience of sleep paralysis at this place, when I went to sleep, I woke up realizing that I could not move a muscle. Whenever I tried, I suddenly felt the presence of a woman sleeping in the bed next to me. I never saw her face. I have no idea what this woman looked like, but I could physically feel her petting my head. And while this sounds very like motherly and endearing, I can tell you that it was not. She was talking about herself almost like in third person as she was like petting my head. I could feel the immediate danger of like, I need to wake up because I don't know what she's gonna do. I was able to like relax my body enough to where I jolted out, and I immediately told my roommate what happened. That was whenever her and I had to take a second to be like, okay, things are getting like really weird over here. I'm hearing a lot of stuff. You're seeing a lot of stuff. What's going on? We ended up getting a connection to this like spiritual advisor who was able to like read places, read people. This was not like her actual job. This was just something that she was like genuinely good at on the side. She wasn't scammy. The second that my friend called her to tell her about the place, she stopped her and she was like, I sense that there is some male energy, potentially a breakup, or someone who's doing drive-bys. And whatever is in that house, because there's definitely something in the house, is feeding off of the negative male energy that's doing drive-bys. Ended up setting up a security system and realized that my ex that I had left was like doing very stalkerish drive-bys, like sitting outside the house at night. It was something that you just couldn't know. Specifically said, hey, are you guys seeing any signs of rotting in the house? We both looked at each other like, that's like really weird. Like, she just got this house, like it was fully checked out by someone before getting it. Like, well, pay attention for house rot, because in cases like this, sometimes that stuff can be very extreme. Kid you not, within that next week, we started to notice spots on the ceiling. There's no storm or anything for us to have gotten water damage. And one day my ex decided to show up to the house, knock on the door, act erratic. And that morning, the whole ceiling fell in. You cannot make this up. So we were like, okay, when can this woman come? When can she come, like physically see the property, see the place? What do we do? She comes and she performs a full exorcism on the house itself, which I thought you could only exorcise people. Turns out you can exercise places as well. My roommate had a couple of animals, and during like the house exorcism, the animals were not okay. Like, they were freaking out, unsettled, and they kept specifically going back over to the door over and over and over again. And this is the part where she said that was the place where it was actually entering at. And also other spirits that were on the property were watching us through the back bedroom window. specifically where I was hearing the voice come from. She does exorcism, it's all good. I can't really recall a specific memory after that where we had any problems. 2020 hit, I moved back in with my parents, started making content, made that video. It did really well. But 2021 rolls around and the place ends up having new tenants. I'm long gone, my friend has moved out. They end up reaching out to her asking, hey, did you have any weird experiences here? Because we're experiencing something. She was able to give like a brief explanation on what happened. And it seemed as though these experiences were lining up. I decided to reach out to a bunch of people, some I haven't even talked to since 2019, to say like, hey, did you experience anything at this house? Did anything happen to you? Every single person except for like one said, hey, now that you bring it up, I had a really weird experience at that house. Obviously, I didn't have the ghost hunting equipment or like the knowledge at the time to properly be able to like investigate and figure out what was going on, but within the past couple of years, I definitely could. My friend and I on multiple occasions have been like, we want to get back into this house so badly and figure out what that was, what's going on. Someone passed away there. What was the purpose of the religious symbols that were being used in the back? Were they protecting us? Were they not protecting us? I've tried so many times to be able to go back to this place, reaching out to tenants, trying to like in between tenants, and it has just not worked out until today. I just got a text from her that the place is open and that we are able to go investigate it. I've genuinely had so many questions about this place. Literally, for how long ago was 2019? That house has taken up so much of my thoughts for the past 5 years. Figured that we would just pack up and go together. So if you're seeing this, it means that I probably uploaded it onto my YouTube. So let's just go ahead and go.
Honestly, that's such an insane story. It's so insane that it kind of reminds me of the house that I grew up in, and honestly, her wanting to go back to me is kind of crazy. Like, I wouldn't want to go back to the house that I grew up in. Forget that. I do not want to, like, re-meet whatever that was, but hey, if this video interests you, go follow up with her next video and see what went down. I hope there isn't, but if there is, I apologize if there's like a noticeable shift in the video. My battery died already, so I had to switch that out. So let's get to this video.
Imagine this. You're getting home, it's late, you see your husband with his back turned in the kitchen getting himself something to eat. And you're telling him, listen, honey, I don't have time to talk right now. I really am tired. I need to go upstairs. I need to go to sleep. Say a word to you, so you keep walking up the stairs, you get into the room, you take your clothes off, you hop into the shower, you take a shower, you get your PJs on, and you lay down. And he's laying on the bed with his back towards you again. No questions asked, you turn off the light and you fall asleep. Same night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a call. Like, what? Who's calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning? So, of course, you're sitting there snuggle up with your husband. He's hugging you, and you're looking at your phone, and your phone says it's your husband calling. I say Jessica went cold. She went cold. Ice cold. Do not draw attention to her husband laying down next to her. She gently removes his hands off of her. Now, that's when she realized she wasn't the only person who was ice cold. That her husband, who was laying down next to her, tightened up his grip around her waist and said, death is coming. She jumped off that bed so quick and answered that phone, turned on the light and looked, and he was not in the bed any longer. When she answered the phone, it was the hospital calling, and they were letting her know that her husband got into a serious accident hours before, and he's been in a coma ever since. Them at what time did he get to the hospital, and they told her he got to the hospital around 8 o'clock. And when she recalled him in the kitchen, she had walked in also 8 o'clock. Started putting her clothes on, and when she got to the hospital, she asked them what had happened to her husband. They were telling her that they didn't really know, that she was more than welcome to see her husband, and once she walked into the room, there was a nurse changing his IV. Arrived into the room, she introduced herself as the wife to the patient. Proceeded to show her where all the things that he had on in the closet. And when Jessica looked at the clothes that were in the closet, she realized that the same clothes that she saw him in the house with earlier that night was the same clothes that were in the closet. She realized that the spirit or the person or whoever she saw in the house that night was her husband. With time, her husband did recover. However, she never recovered from that night. I think that was, do you think it was the husband just warning her about death at the door, or was that something else?
So at first I thought, I was like, are we dealing with like a mimic situation? But then when it turned out that he was, because like, first of all, when I thought it was like the mimic situation, when he whispered death is coming, I was like, ooh, hell nah. But once I found out he was actually in the hospital. I 100% believe that that was truly his spirit there with her while he's been in the coma or whatever. I have a story just like that. Well, not like the exact same, but pretty similar. My dad was in a car accident in the middle of the night. He lost control of the car, went straight into a light pole or something like that. And it was a pretty bad car wreck. He had like glass, like thick, long shards of glass in his skull, and like I'm pretty sure he blacked out, had to go to the ER and all that. Well, as he was getting into this wreck, my grandmother said that she literally saw him walking down the hallway. And that's how she knew something was wrong. So after that, that's when she called, hospitals and stuff and officially found him. So I definitely believe that that actually happens. And it's kind of cool to hear another story like that because I find those stories so fascinating. This video is pretty short, but oh my gosh, is it creepy.
Creepy Real Photos That Keep Me Up at Night Part 60. This photo was posted to Reddit with the caption, "This is a photo in a series of photos taken in quick succession by my mother-in-law of my daughter. She was downloading from her camera when she noticed the background of this photo. Only my mother-in-law, the photographer, my father-in-law, my daughter, and the yippingest dog on earth that barked at everything were in the house. Her house backs up to a graveyard. And this is what happens when you turn up the brightness and contrast of the photo. Follow for more creepy real photos."
No. No. They could have kept that photo without upping the contrast, because, like, why? I didn't need to see those eyes. I didn't need to see all those details. Like, that's definitely a person, like a ghost or whatever. Honestly, people who live next to graveyards are some of the strongest, most badass people in my opinion, because like I could not live like next to a graveyard. I would probably psych myself out into seeing stuff when I'm not even actually seeing stuff. Like, just the thought of it is like a big no for me personally. Like, when you actually look at the photo, it's so like the more you look, the more you see the ears, the mouth, like the neck, like the different colors, even like the little wave in the hair, and like you can tell that he's wearing like a collared shirt, and it's just like too much. This is too much for me. Alright, I'm moving on for my own sanity. This video is technically like an Appalachian video as well. I did just make an Appalachian video. That's why I feel like I'm gonna throw this one into this video, because I don't like making videos that are exactly the same back to back too much, because then I feel like it'll be overplayed and nobody will want to see it. So I like spacing it out some. But yeah, the reason why it's in this video is because, like, yes, it's in the Appalachian Mountains, but it's also a crazy paranormal story. Okay, all that preface out the way, let's do this.
I used to do house calls in the hills of the Appalachian Mountains. Many of my patients lived off the grid, and many times didn't have running water or electricity. I often wouldn't have cell phone service or GPS due to location of where I was. I would be using the compass in my car and a map to navigate to my patients' homes. As always, my stories are edited for the sake of HIPAA and for the sake of storytelling. Go ahead, grab your blankets and settle in. I was thinking of this story all day because of the time of year. When I came to this person's home, it was the fall, and I remember because it was just the time of year where the leaves were beginning to change color, and this person's home was in the middle of a clearing, like surrounded by some of the most beautiful trees and all the reds and oranges, and the home looked like it used to be a church or maybe like a chapel. Very old building, brick building, and then it had like some stained glass windows in it, and I remember it was just breathtakingly beautiful. And it had the most storybook wraparound porch. Like, I envied this porch, right? So I walk onto this beautiful porch. It has like the baskets hanging like you see in the Hallmark movies. And I knock on the door and I'm greeted by actually someone that's pretty close to my age. And we just get to talking right away before I'm even sitting down in the house. And we get along so well and I'm having such a nice time. So I have a seat and they offer me something to drink and I'm like, oh gosh, no, I'm totally fine. I brought my little Coke Zero with me, so I appreciate it, but I'm all right. And at that time, you know, where I'm seated in the main room, you can see the kitchen straight ahead. And then there's a doorway that goes into like the rest of the house, which I have not seen. At this time, I see someone walk out of the doorway and just stand like in the room. And I glanced over because at first I was like, that's odd. I swear I thought I saw something move over there. And I glanced over and there's just like a really tall like figure of a man. And it caught me so off guard. It wasn't like I saw a shadow or I said, no, it looked like a man was just standing there. And I'm like fixed upon it for a second. Like I'm staring at it for a second because it was just so bold in its movement and just stood like right in front of me in the room. And the patient goes, do you see that? And I was like, yeah, girl, I don't know. I'm like, your house is haunted. Now I have, again, always adopted the just ignore it like it's not happening sort of vibe. I don't want to acknowledge it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't even want to be here with it. Like my number one instinct is to just ignore it, get through the visit as professionally as possible. But this person, we were, like I said, we were just talking and having a very nice visit, and I felt comfortable enough saying like, do you see that too? Like your house it is haunted. I'm feeling kind of crazy at this point, right? I'm like, this person might look at me and be like, yeah, you're nuts. And before she can even say anything else, I see that there's like a child walking through the doorway of the kitchen. And I'm like, listen, I'm like, I could be totally wrong, but I see there's a man there, and I think there's like either a little person or like a child-sized person that just walked through the kitchen. And this person very nonchalant was like, oh yeah, no, this used to be like a gathering area, like a religious gathering area, and it is just full of like spirits. And I'm like, okay, well, you should probably do something about that, like sort that out, like do something about it. And she was like, no, none of this really bothers me other than the nun that's in the basement that watches us shower in the downstairs shower. Ma'am, nothing about that sounds like okay. That actually sounds awful. And I asked her, I'm like, you know, it's interesting that you see these things. I don't think I've ever met anyone that, in my opinion, would see things as vividly as I do. So I asked her to like kind of describe. I'm like, you know, when you see the thing you said, do you see it? I said, what does it look like to you? And she's like, oh, it's like a very tall man. And I was like, yes, like it is a very tall man. And in the kitchen, she's like, oh yeah, it's like, it's a little girl actually. I'm like, yeah. So this lady's house was just chock full of spirits. And she's like, they don't bother me. They don't do anything. They just carry along and do their thing. And I carry along and do my thing. I just don't use the downstairs shower because the nun freaks me out. And she's like, it's just all good. It was very difficult to do that visit. The place kind of gave me like the weird vibe creeps. And the guy that was standing in the sitting room where we were kind of kept just like appearing and then walking back out of the room and then like appearing and walking back out of the room. And he looked kind of dead and anxious, which was making me feel kind of anxious. But other than that, it was a very chill visit. It was a very nice visit. Me and the patient got along famously. Nothing followed me home. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, at least the woman who lives there is comfortable and right at home with all the spirits, I guess. And like Chelsea said, at least nothing followed her home. So, it's a happy ending in my book.
This one is about my ex-boyfriend living in Lawrenceville, in Atlanta. So, talk to this dude, right? For a little while, we decided to move in together because I told him I wanted to live in Atlanta. My whole plan was to go back to Atlanta because I had just finished school there and I wanted to go back there to start my practice as a therapist. And they're like, "Hey, come on, just come on, man. Everything good, everything gonna work out." So I'm like, "Fine, cool, great." I go visit. Everything's fine. This man house is massive. It's pretty big. It's like a mini mansion, you know. And he has boys. I got boys. It just made sense. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Fuck it, let's go. Pack up my truck. Move to Atlanta. This house was so motherfucking honey. And I would hear him say little things, but he wasn't never emphasizing too much. You know how people will act if they live in a haunted house. They would make it a big deal. He really didn't do that. He would say little stuff and I would catch it, but I didn't take it serious because of his vibe when he was talking about it. Like, he would say stuff like, "Yeah, I'm standing by the refrigerator, motherfucker, shadow dude, heater, whatever." I'm just like, man, get on. Like, he's saying stuff, but it's like, I'm like, I should have took heed. First of all, what the fuck is you? Yeah, should have read into it. I didn't do it. I though. I just kept pushing. Always there by myself. He had his own business. He was always gone. Always gone. On top of that, his mother wrecked his truck like 2 weeks after me moving in. So he ended up having to take my truck to work all the time, which was fine because I didn't really have nowhere to go anyway. I'm working from the house. My son actually seen the ghost. He woke up and seen the whole ass ghost and told me about this shit just very casually. I don't know what's wrong with men or boys or males, why they just be real casual about the shit, be real casual about it. Like, yeah, I woke up seeing the ghost. When men, you know, we playing the game, fell asleep, woke up, ghost right there. Type shit, yeah. So, anywho, first thing that I noticed, there's a few things I noticed. He was in the basement. Full basement with a kitchen, bathrooms, and 2 bedrooms in the basement, right? This is where I stayed. This is where me and him stayed. There was a bedroom with a bunk bed in it because he had bought my boys the bunk bed. They didn't sleep in it, though. Because my oldest was always upstairs with his kids, and my youngest always was in the bed with me. So my kids didn't sleep in his bunk bed, but the bunk bed was in this other room. I'm always hearing something moving around in the bunk bed. You know how a bunk bed sound when somebody's in the bunk bed, how you hear that squeaking? Yeah, very, very, very blatant. Somebody's on the top bunk in the bunk bed. Like, to the point that I would get overridden with fear that I couldn't even, like, move. You know it when you've experienced it. But yeah, I would feel that because this happened like quite a bit. This happened maybe 5, 6, 7 times where I'm like, somebody is in there, but I know nobody's in there. So there's that. Then there was the time my son, he was two at this time. My 2-year-old sleeping in the bunk bed because he was already asleep. So I went and took him in there and laid him down in the bunk bed. He woke up, y'all, crying so hard, looking at the fucking window in the room. Looking at the window in the room. Saab just, like, looking at the window. I'm steady saying, Phoenix. He wouldn't even turn around and look at me like he was in a trance looking out this window, crying and sobbing. And I'm just like, what the fuck? That was 2. Then, one day, he at work. Everybody gone. My kids was in Arkansas at this time. I had took them back to my folks because of the holidays, something like that. So I'm the only one there. He's at work. Nobody else is in the house. I felt very weird that day. I also was hearing the bed. I also was hearing the bunk bed. But I fell asleep for some reason, just dozed off and went to sleep. I have a dream of these 2 twins. It's a boy and a girl. They black. Both of them. And they got piercing green eyes. Like weird ass green. Like these ain't living kids. They look like they was from like the 60s, 50s, 40s. Had the dress attire on, everything. These 2 kids. I'm out of my mind. Scared like a motherfucker. Wake up in a cold sweat. I was terrified. I think I might have just been outside a lot that day. Anyway, he ended up coming back and I told him about it. Oh yeah, you seen the kid. Yeah, we moved in here. They got footprints, like bloody footprints going all up the wall. What the fuck? How could you not tell me that? It's kind of a big deal. I was a spiritualist at this time. He knew what he was dealing with. He knew who he was in a relationship with. Why are you not explaining shit? You in a whole haunted ass house. Whole haunted house, and you're not explaining it good enough for me. I'm talking about, he said kids' footprints was not only going up they went all the way up the ceiling. And it was still in the upstairs closet. Prints. Nigga, what? The kid's footprint was all the way up the... Anywho, needless to say. Then, another thing. The motherfucking house was $15,000. This was a big-ass house. How many rooms in that house, DJ? Let me think. Upstairs, it was 1, 2, 3. Was it 3 or 4 rooms upstairs? 4 rooms upstairs. 1 room on the middle floor. 2 rooms in the basement. That motherfucker was on sale on Zillow for $15,000. You can't tell me that house 100. Something happened in that house. Don't nobody sell no house that damn cheap. That house was cheap as shit. That house was cheap as fuck. I don't know what was going on in there, but I got my shit. I got it. When I tell y'all I left the house so fast, not because of the honey shit, because he was already weird too. Whatever the shadow thing was, it clearly had him on that shit like that man off The Shining that walked through that hotel with that sledgehammer. That's what he acted like sometimes. And I ain't had time for that. It was just a whole bunch of weird shit going on with him. And he just was not, I don't play with people. I packed my shit up so much. When I tell you I packed my truck up in about 2 hours and was gone. I was gone. Out of there. My son just came out while I was telling the story. He said the lady that he seen, she was taller than him now. And he about 6'1", 6'2". And she had a yellow dress on. She was taller than him at his size now. That man, motherfucker, about 6'3", 6'4". And what you do, DJ? You just looked at it and went back to sleep? How? You wasn't scared? No. Did Jamari ever see her? No, he didn't see her. Did you tell him about her? Yeah, I did. Did he ever say he seen her? No, he just acted normal. See, they were acting, they were too weird for me. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, for that house to be sold for $15,000, somebody definitely got murked up in there. And it's definitely haunted. Like, cause yeah, my haunted house that we sold in Nashville, it was like falling apart by the time we fucking left too. Everything got really bad at once at my house. Like the plumbing went out. There was like a fly infestation. Like a lot of things were going like extremely wrong. And I believe we sold that place for like probably around the price that we bought it at, which I think was like around $80, which is still mad cheap for like 2013. But I drive past it from time to time, and sometimes there's people living there and then sometimes there's not. I feel like it's only a matter of time before that house gets knocked down though, to make a new, more modern house. My point of saying all that is like, we sold ours for around $80. They sold theirs, well, they bought it for $15. So that's how you know it's extremely messed up in there for it to be that cheap. I just rambled on a lot about that. Okay. Anyways, next video. I'm gonna go ahead and get this other short video out of the way, and then we can focus on like the rest of the longer videos.
He just keeps staring down the hall like he sees someone. What was that?
And I have a picture of like the image brightened up, and like you definitely see something. Something's definitely there. And it does look like a shadow. You don't really see many distinguishing features on it. So yeah, creepy.
Do not watch this TikTok at night. Do not watch this TikTok at night. Do not watch this TikTok at night. Story time. You guys seem to enjoy me speaking Japanese about my paranormal experiences, so here's another one. So I lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, all of 2023. I know what you're asking. Noah, what are you doing out in Salt Lake City, Utah? Well, my husband got a job offer. It was too good to turn down, so we relocated there in 2023. Now, a lot of y'all don't know, Salt Lake City, Utah. Utah in itself is a goddamn portal. It is not just Mormon country. It is skinwalker country, ghost, spirit country, shapeshifter country. So anyway, we rented an apartment Like I said in my last video, I used to have really bad sleep paralysis. I know how to manage it. So whenever I go into sleep paralysis now or within the last 6 years, I know I'm about to be delivered a message. So I'm thinking I'm going into sleep paralysis, but this was different. My whole body started vibrating from the top of my head, like the crown of my head, all throughout my body down to my feet. And I started feeling this warmness that was like engulfing me. And I'm like, did I pee? Did I pee in the bed? So then I open my eyes and the sun is out and it's like really, really like sunny inside of my room. It's like soft yellow light all around my room. And so I sit up in the bed because it feels different. I'm thinking it's morning and then I turn and look and there's a little old black man sitting crisscross applesauce in the corner of my room. There's no furniture in my room. So I'm like, what the hell? Did my husband leave me in the middle of the night? And who are you, sir? He starts talking. And he points over to where I'm laying. And I'm like, what? So I turn around. I'm still asleep in the bed. So I'm like, oh my God, I astral projected. Please don't be clumsy. Hold on to your rope. I don't want to end up like that little boy in Insidious. So anyway, it's this African looking man. And I say African because he had an African accent. Again, I could not understand everything he was saying. And then I hear something in front of me because I'm looking to the side of me. And I look and there's 2 little Hispanic boys playing tag inside of my room. My room is empty. My dresser is gone. There's nobody in this room but us 4. And I'm like, who's these cheering? He's pointing and he's speaking another language. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. What am I supposed to do? And I did not feel comfortable getting up and walking around my house and seeing different things because I don't astral project. I try not to. I have, but somehow I always end up in the very weird parts of the astral realm. So I refrain from doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to lay back in my body now. Like I never exited the bed. And so I lay back into my body and I woke up and it was still nighttime. This is whenever I knew that I had astral project because it was dead ass night. So a couple days later, I'm recording for TikTok. It's like 3 something in the morning. All my kids are asleep. My husband's in the next room playing Xbox. He has headphones on. The sound is coming through the Xbox TV into his headphones because he knows I'm recording. I was making a video about somebody getting the Mario coins knocked out of them at a plantation. Like a spirit was knocking W people's heads between the banister and the baseboards. And I caught something. I want y'all to turn this up. Again, do not watch this at night. Okay, so I get this question a lot on my videos about plantation. If spirit is upset with a certain demographic of people or if it's everybody, I am here to tell you that it only seems like a certain demographic of people who get the Mario coins slapped out of them or experience something violent. Tips for going to a plantation if you are African American. Bring offerings. It can be something simple. I've already made a video on it. Cover your head. I'm serious. Cover your motherfucking head. Did y'all hear that?
No. Okay, so like I could barely hear the first giggle, but that second giggle, no. It was too pronounced. It sounded too close. I didn't like it.
Do you think sleep paralysis is scientific or do you think it's paranormal or both? Because this sleep paralysis story that I'm about to tell you absolutely terrifies me because it seeps into the real world. And those are the kind that scare me the most. So we're going to call tonight's submitter Sasha. And Sasha said that there's been something going on in her house that's really scaring her. And she doesn't know what it is and she wants our advice. When her and her family moved into the house about 9 years ago, there was this creepy porcelain doll in a box in her basement where her room is now. There's also a huge crawl space that goes from her room to the other side of the basement. Now, it started off with sleep paralysis experiences. She would have sleep paralysis almost every single night from the time she was 9 years old to 13 years old. She would fall asleep, she would be laying there, and she would wake up. She could not move at all. She would look over in the corner of her room, and there would be these tall, horrible, dark figures that were clear as day standing in her room. And she said that they didn't just stand there. So this next part is going to be hard for me to describe because I don't want to get in trouble. So basically, she is asleep one night. She wakes up in the middle of the night, and she looks over, and she can't move. But as she's looking over, she sees this tall, dark figure standing in the corner of her room. It slowly, very slowly, starts walking over to her bed. Then it gets on all fours and it crawls up onto her bed. It then sits so that it's very hard for her to, you know, when you have to like breathe in and out oxygen. As this is going on, and she's kind of freaking out because sleep paralysis already makes it hard for you to breathe, and then it makes it even harder for her to breathe. So this is obviously terrifying her at this point, but she doesn't know what to do about it because it's happening every single night. Well, one night she falls asleep, she wakes up in the middle of the night, and she is like, great, I am having sleep paralysis again. So she opens up her eyes, she's expecting to see these tall, dark figures in her room, but that's not what she sees. She sees her mother standing in the corner of her room, but she doesn't look quite right. And she's just staring at her like this, just staring at her. And she isn't moving, just staring. Now, after staring at her for a couple of minutes, and she's horrified at this point because she's like, I'm looking at my mother right now. What is going on? And her mom starts walking very slowly over to her bed, super awkwardly. And then she lifts up her body and starts floating horizontally on her stomach. And then she floats above Sasha, like she's literally floating above Sasha like this. And as her mom is floating above her, staring into her eyes, her mom's mouth just goes like that. And she's just has her mouth open like that, staring at her daughter or whatever this thing is. And then she just shifts into one of those black figures that she always sees standing in the corner of her room. It's no longer her mother. It's one of those black figures floating above her with its mouth wide open. She said that this one really scared her, but that these things continued to happen. Then she said that the worst sleep paralysis incident was one that didn't feel like sleep paralysis at all. She said that she was sleeping and she wakes up in the middle of the night, she opens up her eyes, and directly in front of her face is a little girl. And it was clear as day, she said, like clear as day. It did not feel like sleep paralysis. And this little girl was wearing this beige dress, and she had long black hair with no face. The face just basically blended into her hair. It was like a black hole that just blended into her hair. And Sasha blinks and the girl is just gone. She said that after this experience, she rarely has them anymore. That was one of the last ones that she had. But then things started getting worse in the real world. She said that one day she woke up in the morning this time, she was able to move, and she gets out of bed, she's changing, and she looks at her leg, and there is a mark on her leg. A mark that looked like somebody went to her leg so hard that it left like a 5 fingerprint mark on her leg. So this really scared her because obviously she didn't do it to herself and she doesn't remember it happening. And for a mark to form like that on your leg, you would feel it and remember it, right? Well, later on that night, she goes to bed and she can't fall asleep because she starts hearing in her closet, like someone is scratching the wall in her closet. Now, her closet is the crawl space. The only thing that separates her room from the crawl space is the closet, and there's only a curtain hanging there. Now, she said that after she's hearing these scratches, she can't figure out what it is. It's really hard for her to fall asleep. She finally falls asleep, and the next morning, she wakes up with scratches on her. While it's been many years since she's had sleep paralysis, because it was when she was 13 years old, she's starting to experience things in the real world now. And she's wondering if these things are connected and what is going on because it's scaring her. And she has no idea what to think it is. Do you guys think that the sleep paralysis is connected to whatever's going on in the real world with her? Because I kind of do. What do you think it is? I think that it's definitely not good, whatever it is, obviously, if it's leaving marks, you know. I'm actually not allowed to give any advice anymore.
Honestly, that just sounds like something straight up demonic because it's like, in a way, trying to mimic her mom, sleep paralysis, actual scratches and marks on her body in real life. Like, yeah, that's not normal. So yikes. Now, these last 2 videos I have are a part of one story by one creator, but they're both around like 10 minutes long each. So that's why I saved it for last. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you notice a change in the lighting, it's because the sun's going down. So.
Hi friends, my name is Liera, and I lived in my own horror movie for 3 years. I want to get into part 1 of that story. I also wanted to say thank you so much to anybody that commented or liked that video or followed me because of it. The fact that people care about what I have to say at all about anything means so much to me, honestly. So, like, it made me so happy. So thank you so, so much. If you like ghost stories, the paranormal, the unexplained, anything like that, give me a follow. I'm going to get into this story. It's not all my TikTok is about, but it's definitely going to be my main focus for a little bit. If you like it, stick around. I want to give, though, before, or as part of part 1, I want to just give a tiny bit of backstory real quick. I feel like it's important just to kind of set the scene. And it just kind of, it adds to the story. So, and then I'm going to start with kind of like the small things, the red flags that were missed, the small things, and then how they progressed into the big things. The big things, like I said, I'm going to kind of do like story times with those for sure as well. But to start off, so until I was 11, we lived in the house I was born in. I have 2 older sisters and 2 parents, and we lived in that house. Everything was great. Nothing weird ever happened there, whatever. We moved out when I was 11, and we moved into a super, super tiny apartment, and it was above my grandparents. So for that reason, I loved it because I could run down and hang out with my grandparents, but it was too small for us. Now, at this time, my older sisters had both moved out, so they weren't in the house. So the apartment was just me and my parents, but it was definitely too small for the 3 of us. So once the lease was up, we needed to leave. Now, this was like 2006 or 7, I think 2007. Money was tight. The recession was about to pop up. So we needed something really fast. And lo and behold, we find this huge house that is dirt cheap to rent per month. First missed red flag. Why was it so cheap? Didn't really need any repairs. It was a nice house. I mean, it was weird. Now, here's the biggest thing about that house is it is a church parsonage. I'm going to make a video too. I want to show you guys pictures, and I also want to go down to the house itself. I live literally 4 minutes away from it, and I want to film so I can tell you guys stories and kind of show you, like, because one involves a window, something that we saw from outside. I want to show you guys that window so you can really see like what I'm talking about. But anyway, we go to look at the house, and first immediate red flag. The upstairs is much dirtier, like dustier and everything than the downstairs is. And my mom or dad mentioned something about it to the person that was showing us the house. And they were like, sorry, I got a weird back cramp. And they were like, oh, the guy who lived here before barricaded the stairs and never went upstairs. Now there's 2 bathrooms in the house, but there's only one with a shower, and that's upstairs. So the downstairs bathroom only has a toilet and a sink. So he went to the lengths to not go upstairs, that he would go other places to take a shower. Why we thought that was normal is beyond me. It makes perfect sense in hindsight because most of the terrifying, awful things happened upstairs. So, I mean, I get it. I'm so curious what he saw to eventually get him to that point, but I could take a wild guess. So anyhow, first missed red flag. Other guy never went upstairs. Second red flag, my dad and I are walking up into the attic, and so you walk up, it's like 4 steps, and then like a little kind of cubby on the side. You can open up a door, a person would fit in there, but it's kind of small, whatever. I don't know why I said a person, that sounded creepy. But anyway, then you turn, you're on a little landing, and then you go further up the stairs. But in between the stairs here, there's like a slanted wall. So if you were coming down the stairs or up the stairs, you could jump onto this slanted wall. Why you would do that, though, I have no clue. But there were like shoe prints in the dirt, like sliding down this wall. Now, that could be explained, I suppose. Somebody could have been painting. That's about the only reason I can imagine you would be on that little wall, though. There's not another good reason. So that was bizarre. We get up into the attic, and there's 4 rooms in the attic. So there's one right in front of you, one right beside that, one down this hall, and one down this hall. Now, the one that would have been right to our left had a big window in it, and it looks out onto the street. The people that were showing us the house told us that nothing was left there, that they had checked it, nobody left belongings, nothing. Absolutely nothing, 0 belongings. There was a rocking chair, like right in front of this window. Now, again, I guess that's not super weird, although it is weird to me because there's multiple windows in the house. Like, why are you looking out the attic one? But regardless, also explainable. But the rocking chair was like weird. We kind of looked at each other like, okay. That's about it with the attic. We then go down to the basement. This is where I know for a fact, like, we both felt something and we didn't say it to each other. But I remember looking at my dad, and now my dad, here's some backstory. He was a preacher at the time. He is not scared of anything, really. He's like the toughest, bravest guy I know. And we walked down these basement stairs, and I will never be able to put into words the feeling that I felt walking down those stairs. It was like this heaviness that I could physically feel, my chest getting tighter, and like I can almost feel it as I'm describing it right now. And just like the air almost being sucked out of my lungs each step I went down. And we get to the bottom, and I kind of look at my dad and I was like, it's kind of creepy down here. And he was like, mm-hmm. And when he doesn't say much, I know it's because something's going on in his head. There's like 7 rooms in this basement, and it is horrifying. The one room that has the washer and the dryer in it has clearly, like, at one time had bunk beds on the wall, almost the whole way to the ceiling, then to the floor. No mattresses or anything, but you could tell that's what it was. I have no clue who was sleeping down there or why. Then the other rooms, there was not much in them, but still, we had this horrible feeling. And then we go into the last room, and there's one of those bricks. When a building is built, or in this case, a house, and they'll put like one of those bricks or like stones in there that says the year. We see one of those, and it's in the wall, and says, I need to look it up. I think 1862, but I want to be sure, so I will look that up. So we see one of those, and then right under it is this hole in the floor. And we look, and we can see like water in it. So my dad grabs a stick. Conveniently, there's like a big stick in the corner of the room, and he's like putting it down through, and it's not ending. It's just never ending. And he pulls it back up, and there's just like dark water just kind of dripping. And we're just looking at each other, and I could tell he knew he needed to say something to comfort me, because I'm like, what the actual helly is going on? He was like, I'll have to look into that. So many red flags that were missed. But regardless, I loved all of the space. I'm becoming a teenager. I want to have friends over. I want my own space. I need it. We needed something fast. My mom had a lot of doubts. My mom kept saying, I have a bad feeling about this. She was so valid and so right to have those feelings, and we really should have listened to her, but we did not. After a few weeks, we packed up. Now, here's the crazy thing too. I don't remember moving in there. I just remember, boom, we're there. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this off for now. Once I get to part 2, we will start with being in the house once we are moved in, the things that started to happen and kind of how they progressed. 2 of how I lived my own horror story for 3 years. I look a complete mess. Ignore my hair, please, begging you. It'll get fixed soon. Anyhow, so where we left off, we had just officially moved into the house. Now, I would say for about 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks to a month, nothing happened. Nothing major happened. What I will say, though, is from the moment I stepped in that house until the day that I left that house for good, I never, ever, ever felt alone. I constantly felt like I was being watched. The amount of times I'd be like looking over my shoulder, looking around, thinking I like heard something behind me. And when like, sorry, a freaking telemarketer called me. Anyway, so when somebody walks up to you and they, you can like feel like warmth from them, or like the air of them like moving, that would happen to me all the time. And sometimes it would be freezing cold air though. Sometimes it was warm, sometimes it was freezing cold, and it constantly felt like somebody just like walked up and like was watching me, was with me. Turns out my parents always felt that too. They just didn't tell me, but they felt the exact same way. So that went on for a few weeks, and then the very first thing, I will never forget, the very first thing that happened, the room that I had moved into was huge, and it scared me at night. It was so dark, it was so big, I couldn't see. My bed was towards the front of the room, and there was a bunch of rooms still behind me. It's kind of like L-shaped like this, a wall. My bed was right along that wall, and then the rest of the room was behind me, where the closet was, dresser, all of that. So it scared me. It was expansive, and I was used to a very small space. At this point, I never really had cable. I didn't watch much TV, but I begged my parents, can I please have a TV in my room? And they were like super anti-TV in the room. But I was like, I just need the light, the sound, something to make me feel like I'm not alone in there or, you know, whatever. My dad finds this old TV, and it's like tiny and whatever, but he's like, you can have this in your room. It had like 3 channels on it, and they were news channels, as far as I knew. It always just seemed like the news. So a couple nights with the TV, everything was fine, and then probably on the 3rd or 4th night of having the TV, I was in a dead sleep, and I wake up because mass, like Catholic mass music is blaring on this TV, on a channel I did not know existed, and it was like a funeral, and they were singing. Now, I did go to Catholic school, but I'm not super familiar with Catholicism, but so I don't know like what they were saying, but it was like, yeah, like the repetitive, like monotone little things, but it was blaring. I did not know this TV got that loud. So I get up and I'm like trying to turn it down. I'm trying to turn it down, and it's not turning down. It's not turning down. I'm like, what is going on? And then boom, the TV just shuts off. I got the sickest feeling in my stomach. It really didn't sit right with me. I was like, what in the world was that? Sorry, I get anxious talking about this. But I told my parents in the morning, and they were like, what's an old TV? Like, it's going to do weird stuff. So I'm like, okay. That situation ended up happening until I finally just got rid of that TV for good. It happened for months. I would just wake up randomly and that station would be blaring. I could never find that station. When I would try to go through the channels, so there was like 4 of them. Like I said, there was like 3 or 4 of them. I couldn't find that channel, but somehow right around 3 a.m. every single night, it would blare. Unsure, but I chalked it up to it's an old TV. Next situation that I remember happening all the time. Now, remember, this was like 2007, 2008, so we still use stereos. And I had a big stereo, and to turn the volume up and down on it, you literally had to turn a knob on the front of it. That's the only way you could turn it up and down. And I would be getting ready and have my stereo on, and it would just start to blare. Then it would just go way down. Then it would blare. Then it would go way down. Then it would be back to normal. And I didn't think much about it the first few times that it happened. And then I looked back the one time, and I didn't see the knob moving, but I did see the numbers going up. So it would be like 41, 42, 43, like volume-wise, and then go back down. So the numbers were moving somehow. And I tell my parents, well, it's an old stereo. So, again, excuses were made. The third thing that I remember happening, and keep in mind, this is in like a 2 to 3 month period. So this is happening like back to back to back. Every day it's getting worse, and I'm getting more and more scared every single day. I really want to find you guys pictures of the inside of the house, because I wish you could like picture what I'm saying about my room, but it's kind of hard to explain. I'll try. I'll see what I can do. So one night I am asleep and I'm in my bed, and like I said, there's all the room behind me, the bed's here, the door's like kind of right at my feet. And by this point, I didn't have the TV anymore, so I was still scared of the dark. So I would sleep with my door about halfway open, which I had never done before. My parents are like, fire safety, you should keep the door closed when you're asleep, but I had to keep it halfway open. I needed some light from the hallway to come in. It was the only way I could fall asleep at that point. So I'm in a dead sleep, and you know when you're about to fall asleep and then you have that like feeling like you just fell? And it like jolts you awake. I had that, but instead of feeling like I was falling, it sounded like somebody screamed, "Hey," really loud, but it was like it came from my head almost. It's hard to explain it. Like, it didn't feel like it was somebody in the room screaming. It was like coming from me almost. And I sat right up and I looked at the door, and you know when somebody like stands in front of a light, obviously it's going to block the light. I could tell that the light was being blocked by something. So I was thinking, are my parents in the bathrooms? The bathroom was right across the hall. And I could tell that it was being blocked by something smaller than my parents. And I'm looking and I'm like, is it my dog? Fun fact, our dog refused to go upstairs. Refused. She would put a paw on the stair to try, and she would look up, and then she would take her paw back down. There were times she would stand at the bottom of those stairs and growl. And like that man that had lived there previously, he never went upstairs. She refused. I would beg her. I really wanted her to sleep in my room. She would not go up those stairs. Ever. Ever. So I figured it wasn't her, but I leaned out and I looked. And this is going to sound crazy, and I know it's weird to explain, and whatever, especially if you've never experienced it, but I saw the shadow, and I just immediately knew it was like a little kid. it wasn't necessarily like human form. There was no face, like no, I couldn't see clothing, nothing like that. But the way the shadow was, I knew, I could just tell. And it turned towards me. I could tell that it did. And then it moved and it went down the hallway and it kind of just disappeared into the attic door, because the attic door was in the hallway as well. And I remember knowing at that point, like, either I am going completely crazy and something is really severely wrong with me, or this house is truly, truly haunted and I'm so scared it's going to get worse. I tell my parents, and they're like, well, you woke up from your sleep and maybe you were dreaming. Maybe it was all a dream. Maybe you were just, so tired that you just thought you saw a shadow and whatever. Okay. I'm not explaining it away at this point. I'm done with the excuses. Like, no, something's going on. The day after that happened, that night that I saw the shadow and it went into the attic, the day after that happened, I was opening my closet. Keep in mind, we're living here at this point about 4 or 5 months. I had been in and out of this closet a million times, getting stuff in and out of this closet. The day after that happened, I happened to notice on the inside of my closet door, in plain view, I don't know how I ever missed it. You know when you measure a kid, like on a door, you get a little pencil and then you measure them the next year and the next year? There was one of those on the door and the name was Mary Jane. And it started when she was 3 and it ended when she was 8. And I showed my parents and I'm like, look, like, look at this. What if something happened to this little girl here? And I'm like, it ends at 8. And they're like, she probably just moved, which, valid point. But the fact that I saw it the day after that happened really stuck with me. I felt like I was meant to see it. I ended up seeing that little, it sounds insane to say that little girl, but like that particular shadow, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to sound insane. It didn't really scare me all that bad. And that's another reason I knew, like, I think it was just something trapped there that wasn't evil or malevolent. I think I just said that word wrong. And we'll get into those things for sure. But this was the first where it was like, I saw with my own eyes, like something is in this house and it's trying to communicate with me and something is going on. And from here on out, it just gets progressively crazier and crazier and crazier. I'm going to end this one here. I really want to talk though about that room that I was in. I only ended up staying in that room for about probably the first 5-6 months. Shortly after I found the height thing in the closet, I ended up moving out of that room. We'll get to that. That room was one of the worst rooms in the entire house. And I really want to tell you guys about the nightmares that it would give you, to the point people were acting things out that had never slept walk, had never slept talk. It would put the deepest, darkest nightmares into your brain. The worst nightmares I've ever had in my life I had in that room. Same with my sister, same with my mom, same with my dad. So we'll get into that next time.
I've checked her account. Part 3 is missing, but I feel like she gives like a decent summary of it that I feel comfortable enough to at least play one more video.
Where we left off was the first big event. I had heard the pounding up the kitchen stairs. So, unbeknownst to me, again, did not know these things until a few years after we moved out. The week after this happened to me, my parents were in their room. No one else was in the house this day. They had the door shut and they were getting ready. And as they were getting ready to leave, they heard, come down the hallway, the loudest stomping they have ever heard. Boom, 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 boom. The same exact thing that bolted down the hallway. Same thing I heard coming up the stairs, they heard going down the hallway, and it slammed into their door. My dad told me, after the fact, told me that the slam was so loud that he almost immediately knew it couldn't be a person. Same as I felt when I heard the slamming coming up the basement stairs. I knew, like, that's not a person. There's no way a person makes a noise that loud. And he said he felt the same, and he, ripped the door open and was ready for whatever he was going to find, but he kind of knew that it wasn't going to be anything he saw or could see, and that it definitely wasn't a person. So that happens to them in the meantime. Obviously, I don't know that. I continue on with the torment in my room, the night terrors, all of that. One day, I am going to school, it's been about probably four or 5 months at this point of, barely sleeping. Just my personality is really starting to change. I'm sleep deprived. I'm also a preteen, and that's a rough time period in your life as far as hormones go. I have a lot of mental health issues even now, and they kind of like hit me head on at that point at like 12, 13 years old. It's like getting hit by a Mack truck, and that Mack truck was like major depression and bipolar disorder. So I'm dealing with all of that. This house is making it worse. The no sleep's making it worse. And one day, the teacher that I had for first period, and so like first thing in the morning at school, that teacher that I had, I remember her bringing me into her office, and she was like, "Hey, just want to check on you. You seem really tired. Don't totally seem like yourself. Are you okay? I just want to be sure." And at this point, I felt so alone. I felt like nobody believed me. I felt insane. But for some reason, I just opened up to her and I just told her. And I'm like, this is going on at my house. This is what happens in my room. I know I sound crazy. Something made her ask me where I lived, which is really strange because I think if the roles were reversed and I was the teacher, I wouldn't have thought to ask. But she asked me, "Where do you live?" And it's obviously, it's a landmark, so it's easy to say, the XYZ church parsonage. And I will never in a million years forget the look on her face when I told her. It was like she got white and just scared looking, and she was like, "Really? People live there?" Like, I didn't know people lived there. I was like, "Yeah, people do, and it's me and my family." And I said, I just feel crazy, like maybe it's not happening. And she said, "I will tell you this is like the weirdest coincidence in the world." She said, "I'll tell you this, I spent one night in that house." So she was a what was it? Like she had a group of some sort of like, I don't know if it was like Girl Scouts, something along those lines, where they did like a sleepover. They used that house one night for the sleepover. It had been years prior. She said, "I spent one night in that house, and a lot of girls left and went home early and wouldn't even sleep at the house that night. And I will tell you that I personally would never spend another night in that house if somebody paid me." I remember at that point just like sobbing because it was like, finally somebody else knows what is going on, and they believe me, and they've experienced it, and they're talking to me about it, and they're being honest. And it was like the biggest relief in the world. I am forever so glad that I had that connection with that. Because otherwise, I think that the mental health, oh my God, there's this bug crawling on my leg, scared the absolute shit out of me. But I think otherwise my mental health, as bad as it did still get, I think it would have gotten worse had I not had that one person that was like, "No, I get it too." And I had that in my friends as well. My friends that have ended up coming over, they would be like, "This place is creepy. This happened. I heard this." And so that was all validating as well. And made me feel a lot less alone. So I'm so thankful for them. So thankful for my best friend Brooke, who saw things happen and never made me feel crazy, never made me feel alone, knew what I meant, experienced it herself, all of that. She's the best friend anybody could ever have. Okay, so I have that confirmed at school that is going on. Now, the thing happens to my parents. Now in the room at night, like I said, I sleep with the iPod. I try to not hear anything, but sometimes I still do, or the iPod dies, or whatever, what have you. If I'm still hearing things at night, I'm starting to hear like whispering. And I would try to convince myself it was outside the window, but I knew it wasn't. And it would start to get closer and closer, like towards my bed, just like, and I could never hear words, but it would just be like, and I could tell it was two different like voices, like whispering, but I could never make out words. But again, I would try to have the TV on, but then the TV would go to that Catholic channel, or try to have the iPod would randomly die, even though it had just been charged. Things like that start to happen. Then I'm starting to hear just like little footsteps in my bedroom at night, and then they'll kind of go out to the hallway, little like pitter patter footsteps in the hallway. So it's ramping up. I'm still having the nightmares, all of that. The last night that I ever spent in that room brings me into a chunk of the story that's very important, which is the bats. The bats that tormented a family. We had a few bats in the house at this point. Bats were never something that bothered me, never something that I was afraid of. My mom has always been terrified of them. I have not. I always thought her fear was silly. I didn't understand it. I will tell you, at this point in my life, I have a phobia of bats to the point that it actually negatively affects my life. In the summers, I can't sit outside. If I see a bat outside, I'm done. If one gets close to me, I am immediately having a panic attack. I am horrified, terrified. you can't even describe the level of fear I have over bats. But anyway, so we have a few up until this point in the house. And then I'm asleep one night. I wake up. Remember, the ceilings are really, really tall in this house. So I'm in my bedroom and I'm looking up at the ceiling. And I remember I'm just seeing this like shadow. Just going. And I'm watching it and I'm like, what is that? And then it's starting to like dip down and back up and dip down. And you know the famous, oh, it gives me chills sound that a bat makes. Oh my God, I can't even take it. I hear that and I'm like, oh my God, it's a bat. The fear that took over my body, I went from not being afraid at all to like absolute phobia, paranoia, whole body jolted in fear over this bat. And I can hear it hitting the back wall. And I hear it kind of swoop back forward and then boom, hits the back wall. So I start to learn its pattern. I'm so terrified. I have my comforter over my head and I get myself to the end of my bed under the comforter. I'm like crawling down towards the end of the bed and I'm listening. And this goes on like a half hour. But when I finally hit it or hear it hit the back wall again, I jump off the edge of my bed. I bolt down the hallway. I fly into my parents' room. I'm like, there's a bat in my room, there's a bat in my room. You know, freaking out. My dad goes, he gets it, takes it outside. And I ended up sleeping on a mattress on the floor in their bedroom for 2 weeks. And then I moved into the bedroom that was right beside theirs. There was actually a door in the middle of the bedroom that led into each room. So I slept on the floor there. After this incident happened with the bat in my bedroom, the house was infested. And when I say infested, I mean there was a bat or multiple bats every single day. You could hear them in the walls. You could hear them in the ceiling. We had like the drop ceiling. You could like push the tiles up. You would hear them in there. They were hanging on the curtains. They were in our rooms. They were in the basement. They were in the attic. I'm telling you, these bats were everywhere. We had exterminator after exterminator after exterminator come in and tell us there is no signs of infestation in this house. There is no bat droppings. There is no evidence of any damage from bats. There is no evidence that there are bats here at all. I have looked it up. If bats are in your basement, the infestation is very severe. But yet everybody is telling us there's no way. I've looked it up too, and I guess this is a tactic that, I don't want to say that word out loud, the D word, the bad D word, demonic, presence or entities can use to like torment you. I am going to end this one here, but I still have something I want to keep talking about with the bats. So we will pick up that in part 5.
Number 1, she's so good at telling stories. There's multiple times that I got fully creeped out just based off her description alone. 2, this is like a 24-part series on her TikTok. If y'all want, I can also compile like videos from her 24 video list and make a whole different YouTube video about it. If you're interested in that, let me know. But yeah, you guys, I think I'm gonna call it here. I think I've been filming for like an hour now at least. I hope you guys enjoyed this compilation video that I have prepared for you. If you have any video suggestions or anything you want to let me know, don't forget to comment it down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.